Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Say It in Sports, the podcast where we talk about life and leadership lessons all through the lens of the games that we love. So today, I have an incredible guest. Her name is Jen, and she is a law student, which is amazing, and also a sports content creator. You should definitely check out all of her socials because she has some really great sports content on there. I won't reveal her favorite teams yet, but they're not my favorite teams, but it's okay because we can all coexist and it's great. But I'm very excited about our topic today because we are wrapping up Women's History Month. And more importantly, what we are talking about is women's history in terms of sports. So women's sports are having a moment right now, which I think is absolutely incredible. And it's very exciting. But we're going to talk a little bit about some of the athletes and some of the pivotal points in the journey of women's sports and kind of where we are today and where we hope we go in the future. So, Jem, thank you so much for being here today.
Oh, thanks for having me on this topic. Your podcast in general is amazing, and this topic is super exciting. So I am happy to be here.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, tell us a little bit about yourself. You know, how you can talk a little bit about how you got into sports since you are such a big sports fan. But tell everyone, please.
I know I like the stress and happiness that we subject ourselves to like on a daily basis with sports is definitely a choice.
Yes.
I was born into it. My family is a sports family. Like I remember being 5 years old and my dad never let me skip school. He only let me skip school once when the Dodgers had a day game and we went and we sat in the very top. But I've been a sports fan my whole life. It's been a way that I think of it as cultural capital in a sense. Like there's always something to talk about when you even if you don't like the same teams. And I decided to go to law school because I was teaching at a college and I had all these young athletes in my classes and they were getting drafted to the WNBA and they were going to the Olympics and they were just like these really impressive people. And the NIL stuff was starting.
Okay.
The name, image, and likeness.
Yeah.
So I was like, I feel like I'm a mentor to them, but I have no idea how to navigate this. No one really did. And so I wanted to go to law school to like kind of figure that out and like continue being a mentor for student athletes. Cause I was a student athlete and I just really enjoy that space. And I know it's a lot harder than it looks sometimes. So
yeah.
So here I am.
Well, it's amazing that you are able to be a resource for those athletes. I think it's incredible that they have made so many changes when it comes to college sports, but it's also, like you said, pretty difficult to navigate, I would assume, for, the coaches, for the schools, but also for the athletes themselves. Like they don't really know what's going on. I mean, I think back to when I was in college and I didn't know anything. I mean, I was like, so green. And so like, if someone was like, oh, I'll give you money, I would be like, sure, I'll take it. Like, I don't know. Yeah.
So where do I sign?
Right. So that's amazing. So thanks for sharing that. So I wanted to kind of just start out with, and this kind of goes perfectly with what you were just saying about being a mentor is, was there a female athlete when you were younger or, even now that really inspired you or, you kind of looked up to that made an impact on you and your maybe athletic career or just your life in general?
Yeah, that's such a good question. And there are so many now that I'm like, oh yeah, like she definitely made an impact on me. The first person I thought of is Alex Felix. She, I think, is still the most decorated track athlete or maybe Olympian in general. She went to USC, but I think following her journey, like to post Olympics and adulthood and like being a mother and then starting her own agency, I think she has this way of being able to do it all, which sometimes, as women, we kind of are forced to grapple with that, like have the family, have the job, get our education. But we also need to push back on that a little bit and find balance for ourselves. And I think she has done that So, and she's a Trojan, which I appreciate, because I went to USC. So I'm just like so excited to keep following her journey and see how her agency pans out. I think she is a good mentor to young athletes and young women, especially.
Yeah. And you made such a good point about, if you think about athletes now and you think about some of these female athletes, I mean, look, I have my Nike shirt on. Look at
I
all
love
of
it.
these incredible women, right? But we
Beasts.
didn't always have them. Like I think back to when I was younger and it was like Mia Hamm. Like I
Yeah.
played soccer mostly. So, it was like Mia
Yeah.
Hamm and then Cheryl Swoops. And I remember, and combining them actually, I remember that when I played soccer, my mom was like, if you score a goal in this upcoming game, I will get you the sneakers that you want. Now, I'll
Yes.
caveat that with saying I played defense in soccer, so I wasn't, a
It's
goal
tough.
scorer per se, right? But I really did want the Cheryl Swoops sneakers. I didn't even play basketball. I just was like, oh my gosh, a woman has a sneaker. Like that is amazing.
Yeah.
And in that game, my teammates gave me the opportunity to score a goal, and I did, and I got those sneakers.
Pay up, mom.
Right. And I mean, they were a half size too small, but I was fine with it because I was ready to wear them and I was excited. But,
I love
those
it.
were like the only female athletes that were so popular and, they made a name for themselves. It wasn't that anyone else was really propping them up. That was really just them being incredible athletes. And 1997, that's when the WNBA started. So that's when Cheryl Swoops was, one of the, I guess she was like the first woman that was recruited into or drafted into the WNBA. And she was, that was a huge thing back then. But those were the only names that you knew. You didn't know very many women who were on the WNBA. You just kind of knew like one or two notable people. So on top of that, kind of talking about the female athletes that have made a difference or, those that we've looked up to, can you also maybe share with us like a pivotal moment in women's sports, could be recent or whenever, that made an impact on you or, that you feel like has made an impact on women in sports in general?
Man, yeah, that's a great question too. If I think back to the first time that I was like, oh man, women's sports are getting to be on the map. I think I mean, I can tell a personal moment. I played basketball growing up with a Japanese American organization. There's like all these different leagues across California and Nevada, and it's kind of an aftermath of World War II. And my team got the opportunity to hand out like the first game balls at an LA Sparks game.
Oh, cool.
And I got to hand the ball, I think, to the point guard. I think her name was Katrina. And my teammate got to hand the ball to Lisa Leslie.
Oh, gosh.
And yeah, I just remember being like, Lisa Leslie is a celebrity. Like people know her. Like, this is amazing. And then I think like, I work in, I suppose, like media. That's probably a euphemism for what I do. But I think like some of our moments are really recent because we haven't gotten the media coverage. So even like Angel Reese going to the Met Gala, like that's a pivotal moment because we are seeing this athlete as a celebrity, an icon, someone that is like a role model. And we haven't gotten that I mean, I think of Billie Jean King.
Sure.
But we don't have a ton of people that we can think of through the decades that like everyone would recognize necessarily.
Yeah. And I think, Billie Jean King, that's absolutely one of those like first moments, right? Where she beat a guy and she just kind of like put women's sports on the map in general. Like that was a huge, huge step, right? But that was what, like 1973, I think. And the next like pivotal moment I can think of now, granted, I'm a geriatric millennial, so I was born in 1983. But I remember when the women's U.S. soccer team won the World Cup in 1999, right? And that's when
huge.
Brandi Chastain took her shirt off and she celebrated. And I was like, that woman looks incredible. And
Yeah.
I mean, I love soccer to begin with. So I just remember being so like, wow, that's amazing. What a great moment for women in sports. Like she showed, how strong she was, how great she looked, but like it was all about we won the World Cup and we did something that the men's team, didn't even do, which I thought
Still
was
has not.
right. Exactly. and then out of that, comes like, uh, Megan Rampino, who then was
Hmm.
advocating for equal pay, right? She took her platform and she was like, we need to get paid like the men's team. Look at all the things that we've accomplished that they haven't. Why aren't we getting paid what we should be? Which
That's
is
right.
the story of our lives as women to begin with. But
Yep.
um but yeah, so that I totally, feel you in terms of like the last few years we've really had this opportunity to watch women's sports take off. And I think so much of it happened, last year with Caitlin Clark with
Hmm.
basketball. And she just is a force to be reckoned with. She's
Oh man.
incredible. Um, so in the past couple of years, what are some of those moments that, you've kind of seen where you were like, wow, this is so great for us and look at us moving in the right direction.
Yeah, I mean, we have to acknowledge Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, even Paige, and Juju
Yeah.
in college now. Like people are. This was such a great moment for me. So I do like a March Madness, just like bracket with everybody online, and the winner gets a prize. And this year, more people joined the women's bracket than the
Oh, love
men's.
it.
Yeah, love it. I mean, and more people were like, I feel like I know what's going on with the women's better than the men's because I've been it there's drama and there's like real talent and rivalry now and it's exciting. I mean, Juju tearing her ACL
I
was
know.
I'm still not over it. But I think the other thing that's really an accomplishment too is the NWSL, the new
Mm.
Women's Professional Hockey League, and I think now there's going to be a baseball league.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
women having their own space, and I don't mean to say that women. I don't want to get into the athlete part of that, but having a league that recognizes women athletes is so important. And the culture is different. Like going to a WNBA game is so I love it because there are couples and there are families there, and
Mm.
it feels like there are young women seeing women professional athletes, and that's so important.
Yeah, I love that. I haven't been to a WNBA game, but I would love to go to one. And it's really is like you said, like about that energy, right? I mean, watching the NCAA championships last year with Caitlin Clark and seeing just the energy in that stadium when people were
Hmm.
so excited to watch her. What was it? The practice, I guess, when they had the practice in the where they were playing, where essentially essentially what I'm saying is they had a practice and they invited people to come watch the practice and they like sold out because that's how many
So
people wanted to come watch, which was amazing.
that's wild. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's great.
And you mentioned about the media, so I pulled up a stat which was kind of talking about women getting attention in the media, and they said so the 2024 NCAA Women's Basketball Championship game drew 18.7 million viewers, which beat out the men's team for the very first time. So
Awesome.
you're right there in the media. And then, to your point too of women getting representation in all of these leagues, one of the other stats was that they're projecting that women's sports are going to generate $2.3 billion this
Man,
year, which is
wow.
incredible, right?
That is, I mean, it just I don't like hopefully this doesn't sound dirty, but it's like it pays to invest and be fans of women's sports. Like everyone watches women's sports. It's really
Right.
I think, the cool thing about the NIL, like working with college students that I've realized I couldn't tell you a statistic, but women um like gymnasts, for example, are often like more attractive to brands because they know how they have to
Mm,
be more intentional to like build relationships and like get where they want to be. So they often are really good brand ambassadors, and companies are finally starting to realize that.
Yeah.
So they're kind of making their own way in that space too, which is good.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. And I mean, you mentioned before you'd mentioned women's gymnastics and Simone Biles. And
Ugh.
I think that that was also another really important point in women's sports was in 2020 when Simone Biles didn't go to the Tokyo Olympics because she wasn't ready to compete. And I just
Mhm.
remember reading comments online, especially from males for the most part, saying, why is she an athlete? This is what you have to endure as an athlete. And I was like, no, she's also a human. She's a human and she put herself out there and she decided that she wasn't prepared to compete and she brought mental health and awareness to the forefront. And that is incredible just in general, right? Like anyone that can do that, that can talk about mental health, that can help other people realize that these are real
Mhm.
issues and that athletes are real people is important to begin with. That makes an impact. It makes a real good positive impact for everyone, all athletes, male or female, doesn't matter. But she kind of helped break down the stigma of that and just brought awareness to that issue, which I think is amazing.
You're so right on. I mean, there's always going to be haters and like just you really want to be like, did you participate in the Olympics?
Right.
Because
Do you have a medal?
yeah, like like really, did you have a move named after you? Because no one else can do it. It really was such a needed thing for she gave us this way to say to ourselves, like, I need to put my mental health first, not only for ourselves, but for our teammates. Like, I remember this is like kind of tangential, but I remember working on an activist team, and one of our like community guidelines was if you are in a bad mood or you are sick or you're like just mentally exhausted, take the day off from doing this work because we need you to be on
Mm,
your game. Totally fine if you need that time for yourself, but like we need all of you. So I like that. I think what Simone Biles did is like really she helped her team. She said, I believe in you and I I need to do this for myself and for you. And it worked. It
yeah,
Sunny Lee came through, and like
that's
look
right.
at her accomplishments now.
Yeah, and that is like such an important part of being a leader is
Hmm.
being able to put your ego aside and to put others ahead of you, or to even just have that trust in the rest of your team to say, you got this. I don't, so you have it, and I believe in you and you can do it, and I don't have to be here to lead the team. I can lead the team from behind. I can support you. And I think that that is such a great moment in terms of leadership and something that as I think the women's sports kind of landscape is evolving, and we're trying to also kind of push that into the corporate world too, where we're all as females trying to elevate each other and trying to just
Hmm.
basically say like we're as good as everyone else, like we're equal. Why are we not looked at as equals? And
Right.
so these athletes who are standing up and just being themselves, not feeling pressured to be anyone else, helps all of us, and helps all causes for women, I think, overall, which
Yeah,
is what we need, right?
absolutely.
It's why we put these athletes on, physical and metaphorical pedestals because they
Right.
deserve it, right? They deserve that
Yeah, give them a
opportunity.
medal.
Yeah.
That's right.
Um, so a question for you. So out of, some of the leagues and some of the things that it's great that we're going through this really great moment in women's sports, but there's always those challenges. So
Mm.
in your opinion, what are some of the main challenges that women continue to face in sports that of course we're trying to break through and we're trying to get to the other side and be just as popular as male sports and all of those things, but what do you think are some of the challenges that are really kind of holding us back now, or just things that we have to break through?
Such a good question. And there's so many answers. I
I know we
think
could probably spend all day just talking about that, but
really like yeah, like multiple episodes. I think the more that women athletes and women's sports, and also women working in sports, so media, managing franchises. I mean, the president of the Raiders is a Black woman, and I'm so proud of that. I think the more that those accomplishments are in the spotlight, the more we sort of get this message of, okay, well, now you've gotten what you deserve, and we're not going to continue this progress. And so it's like the subtle issue. So you brought up a really important stat that the women's tournament was, or sorry, the WNBA
championship
finals.
Game.
Yeah, or the championship game got more viewers. But if I recall, like the women's NCAA tournament had very few like primetime slots last year. And so it's like, even though so many people watched it and followed it, and this year even more, so it's like fighting for these things that are not readily apparent. Or I remember I forget which team she was on, but one of the athletes in the tournament showed like their gym.
Oh,
Their
right.
gym. Yeah, I forget. I want to say
which team it was too.
Yeah. I will have to look that up, but just the resources that are provided. And I'm so glad she called that out and made a video. And I also know that's exhausting. Like even just making video, like sometimes, like I try to make videos about women athletes and women. Amy Trask was the first female CEO of any NFL team for the Raiders. And so I make videos about her, for example, and most people are like really supportive, but there's always like the people that are like, I don't want to hear about this, or they don't. It's just ingrained to think like she got this job because she's a woman, or the DEI conversation. So it is. I think one of the challenges is we are still exhausted by having to stand up for equity.
Yes.
As we move forward.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I do remember that video. I actually was going to try to look that up because I couldn't remember who it was. But
yeah, I'm sure
it was like that, the beautiful facility where she's like, this is the men's facility and this is where they get to train. And then it's like, and here's what we have. And it was like one rack of weights or something in like a corner. And it was like nothing.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, nothing supportive. Right. And I think about it too, in terms of like, imagine how much better we would be if we were given the same resources. So just like you're saying, having equity, being able to say that, if we're given the same opportunities, where would we be? Right. We could be equals. Absolutely. But we weren't given that opportunity. And so hopefully, we are given those opportunities moving forward. But it's incredible that these women are using their platforms and their spaces and their voices to shine light on these inequities and giving the people that are coming behind them better opportunities and more attention. I think that was like one of the things with Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. And, I think they're both incredible athletes. And you mentioned Angel Reese going to the Met Gala and she looked amazing,
Oh my gosh.
Which like
stunning.
I know. And the fashion could be a whole other story of all of this because I love all of it. I know you do too. I know.
Here for it.
Right. But it's so great that, they're breaking those barriers because they're making it a little bit easier for the people to come behind them. So not only are they doing incredible things for themselves and their teams now, but they're just making such an impact for the future of the sports. And it all really came down to their performance, right? Like think about Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. They just happened to be incredible athletes and they were using their platform and they got attention. And it wasn't because they had some scandal or they did something crazy. They were being talented athletes. And
that's right.
People finally were like, oh, women can actually play sport. Yes, we can. And we can do it well. That's what we do. So another question for you, which is just about, some of the, you mentioned some of the new leagues that are popping up. So I just saw the other day about baseball because we're just coming off, opening days yesterday, which by the way, did the Dodgers win?
They did. It went back and forth. It was a good game, but they did end up winning.
Okay, so the Phillies also won because that's my team. And it went
Nice.
back and forth with the Nationals. So, and look, I'm not mad that the Dodgers won. I'm happy that the Dodgers won. You know, if it was, I didn't want the Mets to win, so I'm okay with it. I like the Dodgers.
Oh yeah.
And then so we're good there. But you mentioned at the very beginning that, like, you know, watching sports is, you kind of like subject yourself to that emotional roller coaster. And
Ugh.
yesterday the Phillies were down, then they were up, then they were down, tied. You know, it was a whole thing. And I was like, if this is how the whole season is going to be, this is not going to be great. Like, this is tough.
The stress is back.
It's tough. Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, back to the question, which was, you talked about some of these new leagues popping up. What league are you most excited about, or do you wish that women could have their own league? Like, what sport do you think would be a really good one for women to, you know, have more presence in?
Yeah, that is a great question. I would say just like based on my the teams available to root for locally and just my knowledge of sports, I would say I love the NWSL. Angel City is my team. I got to go to a game last year, and the energy, I mean, they have a supporter section. It is intense, but it's like a family atmosphere. It is a beautiful stadium, like just awesome. And then the flag football leagues that are coming up, the NFL is supporting a lot of them, which is great, because I think they're seeing the potential for a women's football league. The other really good thing about the flag football leagues is there is still currently a rule in the NFL. You can't just be a coach, even like if you are a football expert. You have to have either played or have had coaching experience. And this flag football pathway is a way for women to become coaches in the NFL. So that is good.
Ah, that's amazing.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm excited about that. I think, like, I want to learn more about the women's hockey league. I don't think there's a team in LA yet, or like in California, and I would love to support that team. But yeah, I mean, I think women probably, we still need more representation in every sport, but I would say, like, NASCAR and racing sports, probably we need more exposure. Just those are still like male dominated leagues, I think. And that's, at least I'm not aware of like a ton of women drivers or racers at the moment, but
yeah, I feel like Danica, I can't even remember what her name is. I feel
Patrick,
like that's,
I think.
Yeah. I feel like that's the only one I know. So I would agree with that 100%. But I want to go back real quick to what you said about the flag football league for women, that that could be a way to get more women into coaching, which I think is amazing. And
huge.
You know, I could not say more about having females involved in the coaching process, or, you know, just part of the organizations, right? Having more leadership, embrace females in their leadership, right? Whether it be football or whatever else. And I always go back to my favorite example of Jalen Hurts, who is, you know, the quarterback for the Eagles, because Eagles are my other team here. And they, you know, he surrounded himself with so many incredible, strong females, you know, his agent.
I love that.
Right. And all of his team, they're all women. And I was having conversation, you know, around the Super Bowl time, just about how great it is that he does have this team of females and how it brings a different perspective. And I feel like that is partially why he is who he is, because he's talented and he has this incredible ability to mentally stay in the game and make really good decisions and almost look unbothered all the time, which is
totally
something else.
How does he do that?
Right. But I think the fact that he surrounds himself with women helps him also stay on track, stay focused. I mean, I don't know the conversations they have behind the scenes. I wish I did. But when you really look at his behaviors and you look at the things that he does, and like, there has to be a woman involved in that, whether it be his significant other who he just got married to, congratulations,
Yay.
or, his agent and his management team, and that he trusts them enough to follow their lead and follow their advice and whatever else. But I love that there now is a path, right? Because if you formerly wanted to be a coach in any professional sport as a female, there's no path. There's no like route to follow, right? But if you're a male, you kind of know what that natural progression is going to be for you to get that experience to get to that level. So again, it's, about these females who are paving the way, but also us finding those male advocates and counterparts who can support it. So I think it's great that the NFL is supporting the Flag Football League. I haven't looked too much into it, but I just knew that it was coming up soon. I guess for next year, is that?
Yeah, I think there's different leagues and they're starting young, which is good. So there's like if you if to anyone listening, if your child is like, I think between 7 and 19, there's a league for you. But yeah, I obviously want a women's professional football league, whether it's flag or tackle or however they work that out, maybe both. But you're absolutely right. Having the ability to be in every part of the organization, because there are women scouts in the NFL now. There are women running the business side of things and community relations, but we are still absolutely lacking in women being part of the football operation, the coaching. And I think even more women are being strength trainers now, and that's amazing. But we just got to keep on that.
Well, and to your point too, I feel like we need to highlight more of those women because I'm not aware of all of them. When I see some of it, I think it's great. Some of these other organizations that are stepping up and, they have a really great social media presence. So like Sportish and Together, those organizations are, in fact, trying to do that, trying to highlight some of these females who have an impact on the sports industry, maybe in ways we're not even aware of. So, having coaches or, people behind the scenes, but also people involved with the day-to-day or the coaching decisions. We need to keep highlighting those women and celebrating them and showing the younger women that there is this opportunity. This could be a great career path for you. It's not impossible, which, when I was 10 years old, I was in this, this is so embarrassing, but I was in a beauty pageant when I was 10. I didn't really even know what it was. I mean, we did it for fun. It was not so fun, but I do remember, and this was part of like why I was traumatized by it, I think, is that you had to like basically say, what your aspirations were for the future. And so at 10, I was dead set on being a female baseball player, the first female baseball player. I did not play baseball. I played t-ball and like sat in the outfield when I played. So I don't know why baseball, just because I loved it. Right. I was a Phillies fan to die for. So, and I remember that, I came out in my like evening gown and I go out and they're like, this is Jen Cohen and she is aspiring to be the first female baseball player. And I remember people in the crowd chuckling and I'm sure they were like, oh, that's like so cute. And I walked off the stage and was like, oh my God, like this is, this dream I have. And everyone thought it was funny. And my mom's like, that's not what it, like, they weren't laughing at you. They just thought that this was, something cute or whatever. And I wrote it in this book and I like still have it anyway. So, but my point is like, I had this like aspiration, but I eventually got to the point where I was like, oh, no, women don't play baseball. That's not what we do, And unfortunately, I mean, I probably wasn't going to do that anyway, but I didn't have anyone to look at to see that maybe there was a path to get there or whatever. And now that the Women's Baseball League is starting next year, maybe I still have a chance. Maybe they're looking for geriatric millennials to play baseball. I don't know.
I mean, we get a bad rap. We go to the gym. We have our fitness routines.
We're in shape. Yeah, it's fine.
We have to work out to get rid of all the anxiety that we deal with.
Exactly. It is the only way we stay alive. That is pretty much our coping mechanism these days. But yeah, so, I think that it's
Hey,
so
go
great.
for it. I'm rooting for you.
Thank you. Thank you. I mean, at one point I wanted to be in the roller derby. I don't know. I
Yeah.
wanted to do some sort of like women's sports. So maybe there's going to be like a 40-year-old league soon and then I'll join that or something. I don't know.
If they can have the Golden Bachelor, they can have
uh,
our league, right?
I like that. I like that.
Yeah.
So just one more thing I wanted to bring up before I ask you these like pop questions at the end here, which is,
Oh, yeah.
you mentioned like media and women in the media. And one of my favorite stories or, my favorite people who have made an impact is Erin Andrews. So, Erin
Mm-hmm.
Andrews is your like, I think if you ask most females or most people in general, and you say, who is a great female sports commentator? Erin Andrews would be at the top of the list, right? She's been
Yeah.
around for a while. She is amazing. She's a mom at this point. But she also started her own fashion line. And
Yes.
I love all of the stuff that she has. And it
Me
really
too.
was like such a transformational moment to say, women watch sports. Women, these companies can make money. We do spend our money. Lots of women
Mm-hmm.
do. We have a lot of
We
buying
sure do.
power, right? And we will spend it on fashion. We want to look good when we go to the games.
That's right.
So I love everything that she has done for the game. And, that woman has endured so much criticism from, what she's wearing to, what she's saying. And she's had to fight for every advancement that she's had in her career. Because as being a woman involved in sports at all, you are tested 10 times harder than your male counterpart, to make
That's
sure
right.
what you're talking about, because people just inherently, I shouldn't say people, but for the most part,
Mm-hmm.
most people inherently just assume that if you're a female, you are less educated in the sports arena
Right.
than males, and that's just kind
That's
of
right.
how it is. But are there any other women that you feel, from the media perspective or the fashion perspective, or any of those who, maybe we can give a quick shout out to before we wrap it up?
Yeah. I mean, I think we're fine. So one of our pieces of progress, I think, is um, Erin Andrews is definitely, yeah. I mean, like, I probably, if I asked like 10 people who like sports, hopefully at least like 9 people would know Erin Andrews. And now we are getting generational folks who like Mina Kimes, I think, is hasn't been around as long as Erin, but more and more people are acknowledging, like, yeah, I know who Mina is. She does great analysis. On the flip side, you brought up a really important point about we as women fan differently than men. We love, we love to watch the game, and we like to look good when we go to the game. We talk about the game differently. Like we have more and this is probably a generalization, but I've noticed that like we have these, like, women will have these group chats talking about football or whatever, or even with my friends. We talk about sports in a more communal and productive way where we learn together. I think we weren't given opportunities to learn sports
Yes.
nearly as much. And so, like, my friends daily will be like, what is, like, why did the runners advance on that play? And like another friend will be like, oh, because, whatever, or like, let's Google it. And it's a lot nicer of a learning environment a lot of times than like, if you post a video, like, a lot of times men will be like, no, you're stupid, you're wrong. And it's it's like
Yes.
we just want to all like be fans here. So the other thing I would shout out are women who, there have been so many women I know that are fans of any sport, and they've started their own businesses, like making cool fits for like purses or clear bags, or like one of my friends sent me a sparkly sequin shirt that everybody loved when I wore the other day to Dodger Stadium. It's really like sports are a business opportunity for women too, and like we're finally starting to get to fan how we want. Oh, this is beautiful.
So, a Philadelphia native, her name is Madison. She created this, which is like
Oh my
custom.
gosh,
So it has like, it's like a crop top,
that is
Saquon
so
Barkley
cute.
jersey, right? And then like took the bottom of it and put it on as sleeves. Like how amazing, right?
I love it.
This was my Super Bowl shirt. So, yes.
Hey, you have to wear it
exactly
again,
what you're
so they go back to back.
I know, right? So exactly what you're saying about, starting these businesses and having apparel and things like that, because that's what women want. And we want to be a part of it. And you brought up one other incredible point, and this was part of the reason why I wanted to start this podcast too, was because and we have to give a shout to Taylor Swift for bringing people bringing women into football, and the Kelsey brothers for, having their podcast that they got all the Swifties involved in, but they would basically break down some of the plays in sports and some of the rules and share that with everyone else. And without, people feeling stupid because they didn't know everything about the sport. Right. And I think that that's part of the reason why women haven't got into sports, into the fandom as much in the past, is because, if you're asking a question during the game, you're worried, you don't want to sound stupid. You don't want to feel like you don't know what's going on. But to your point, if it's a group of women, yeah, we absolutely will admit when we don't know why, a call was made or whatever. And so we'll ask each other, we'll figure it out, which I think is incredible. And one other part on top of that is that in the past couple like big sports events, so even for the Super Bowl, they had a like Disney version of the Super Bowl, and that was teaching kids and they would stop and they would explain why that call was made. And that's, for all genders, all generations. I was watching it with my 10-year-old son, and I was like, actually, this is interesting. I never knew that.
Right. I'm learning so much. Yeah.
Right. So, we fan differently. I like that. I like that phrase, women fan differently, and we often want to learn. We're often more productive. And what I am always interested in is the culture of teams and how they become successful. Like last year, I was so obsessed with the Phillies organization and how they had such like the camaraderie, the brotherly love that they showed. I mean, I'm sure LA fans are intense, but Philly fans, we have our reputation. We're pretty intense.
We are kindred spirits, I feel.
Right. It's the right coast, the left coast. That's how it is. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for this incredible chat today.
Oh, this was amazing.
I'm going to ask you these few questions real quick. So, these are just opinion questions. So, what is your favorite sport overall?
Ooh, okay. Don't tell anyone, but I think it's baseball.
I'll lips are. What is your favorite sport to play?
Oh man, softball. I grew up playing baseball, and I got kicked off the boys team, so I played softball. And but
it's like full circle, this conversation here.
Exactly. Yeah.
And who is your or what's your favorite team right now? Favorite team?
The Dodgers and the Sparks, the LA Sparks. I'm excited for them.
Okay, good answers. Favorite athlete. So sorry, let me tell you that there's two. So favorite athlete now, and then your favorite athlete of all time.
Ooh, okay.
And it could be male or female. It doesn't have to be females.
I think my favorite athlete right now is Juju Watkins.
Yeah. And her poor ACL. I hope she recovers well.
Prayers up. Yeah.
Favorite athlete of all time.
My favorite athlete of all time is Rod Martin. He was a defensive player for the Raiders, and he went to USC, and I met him on my husband or my fiance and I's first date. So.
Oh, no way. Oh, that's
we went to training camp, and I was like, oh my gosh.
Oh, that's amazing. I love that. Is he like a good person too? Like, were you like?
Yeah, he's been real. Like, he's a good community member, and I got to meet him another time at a Raider game, and he was a beast on the field, but he's like very kind and soft, like in person.
Oh, I know. Isn't it? I was just at an event the other day, and I was talking to someone who runs Kyle Schwarber's his like Heroes Foundation, and I was like, is Kyle Schwarber like just like I would think? And he's like, oh yeah, he's like a regular guy. He walks in and he introduces himself as if people don't already know who he is. And I was
love that.
that's a good guy right there.
Yeah,
Awesome.
phew.
All right. So if people would like to follow you, you are a sports content creator. So where can they find you?
Yeah. So my partner and I we have two YouTube channels, We Raider and Can't Play Without LA. And then my personal Instagram is Baker Raiderette, and my personal TikTok is Gem the Baker.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jem. I really appreciate your time today. This was such a great conversation.
Thank you. Yeah, this was really fun.
Yeah, and hopefully we see some of these great things continue for women in sports, and we can, have a better conversation maybe in a year and talk about all the incredible things that have happened over the past year for women in sports, right?
I sure hope so. Yeah.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Well, thank you again, and thanks for everyone for listening. And if you are interested in following Jem, you can find all of her social media links in the episode description. We'll see you next time.